Get ready to see science in a new light. This video will unveil the hidden parallels between the historical practice of alchemy and modern scientific breakthroughs. You won't believe the unexpected connections we'll uncover, secrets that bridge the mystical and the measurable, the ancient and the cutting edge. If this fascinates you, don't forget to like the video, share it with fellow seekers of hidden knowledge, comment with your thoughts or questions, and most importantly, subscribe for more deep dives into the esoteric roots of science and spirituality. Your support keeps this journey alive. What if I told you that the very foundations of modern science, its methods, its language, even its instruments, were born not in clean laboratories or under microscopes, but in candlelit chambers thick with incense, symbols, and secrets? What if the rational world we so confidently inhabit was secretly forged in the fire of ancient mystery, under the guidance of hooded philosophers and sacred texts long banned or burned? This is not just science, it is sorcery dressed in a lab coat. Tonight, we peel back the veil. Behind every beaker, every formula, and every theorem, there echoes a forgotten language, a divine code whispered in the margins of time. It is the language of alchemy. Not the fairy tale version obsessed with turning lead into gold, but a profound spiritual and philosophical discipline. One that once sought to transmute the soul just as much as the elements. One that dared to map the unseen world within us, and in doing so, laid the blueprint for the world we now measure and dissect. You see, alchemy was never just proto-chemistry, it was a bridge between heaven and earth, matter and spirit, science and myth. And though history has tried to silence its voice, mocking it as superstition, locking away its symbols behind glass in forgotten museums, its influence remains etched into the very fabric of scientific discovery. In this video, we will journey into the hidden origins of alchemy, unearthing how its sacred art became the silent architect of modern science. We'll explore the mystical minds behind it, Hermes Trismegistus, Paracelsus, Newton, and the veiled philosophies they wove into what we now call reality. We'll uncover why this knowledge was once forbidden, why kings feared it, and why churches tried to erase it. Most importantly, we'll show you how the alchemical path is not dead, but waiting. Waiting for those brave enough to see beyond the surface of the world, and into its molten core of truth. So, gather your curiosity. Silence your assumptions. And prepare to unlock a secret that was never lost, only hidden. Let us begin. Long before the periodic table stood as the crown jewel of chemistry. Long before test tubes lined sterile laboratory shelves, there were scrolls, cryptic diagrams, and arcane whispers passed between mystics cloaked in secrecy. The origins of alchemy are so ancient, so shrouded in myth, that they seem to rise from the mists of creation itself. To trace its beginnings, we must turn eastward, to the sands of Egypt, where the fabled city of Alexandria once stood as the world's lighthouse of knowledge. It is here that alchemy began to crystallize, fusing Babylonian astronomy, Egyptian temple rites, Greek philosophy, and Indian metaphysics into something utterly transcendent. Central to this sacred science was the legendary figure Hermes Trismegistus, thrice great Hermes, a divine scribe said to be a fusion of the Greek god Hermes and the Egyptian Thoth. His writings, the Hermetic corpus, would become the cornerstone of Western esotericism. These were not mere treatises on metalwork or matter, they were cosmic roadmaps, describing the soul's journey through the heavens, the purification of the self, and the secret marriage of spirit and substance. The famous alchemical axiom, as above, so below, originates here, not as a poetic phrase, but as a profound key to the universe. It meant that all of reality is a mirror. The macrocosm of the stars reflects the microcosm of the self. Change one, and you change the other. But why did this knowledge become forbidden? Because it empowered the individual to become divine. Alchemy taught that through inner work, meditation, sacred ritual, and the study of nature, one could attain gnosis, a direct, unmediated experience of spiritual truth. This posed a threat to organized religious and political systems that claimed to be the gatekeepers of divine knowledge. To possess the Philosopher's Stone was not only to transform base metals into gold, it was to awaken the God within. Throughout the Middle Ages, alchemists walked a dangerous path. Their laboratories doubled as sanctuaries, their symbols encoded in elaborate glyphs and riddles. They were healers and visionaries, but also targets. Their art was declared heretical by inquisitors, dismissed as folly by emerging rationalists, and feared by monarchs who saw in it the promise of untamed power. Yet the tradition endured. During the Islamic Golden Age, alchemy flourished under a new name, Alchemy. Arabic scholars such as Jabir ibn Hayyan, Jibr, expanded alchemical knowledge through precise experimentation and deep metaphysical insight. They believed that all substances contained hidden properties, occult virtues, which could be unlocked through purification and transformation. This was the precursor to the scientific method, born not from secular logic, but from sacred intuition. By the Renaissance, alchemy became a beacon for some of history's most brilliant minds. Paracelsus, the Swiss physician, revolutionized medicine with alchemical principles. He taught that illness was not a punishment from God, but an imbalance of spiritual forces, and that healing required more than herbs and tonics. It required the alignment of body, mind, and spirit. Even Isaac Newton, the father of modern physics, secretly devoted more time to alchemy than to optics or calculus. He studied Hermetic texts, searched for the Philosopher's Stone, and believed the physical world was encoded with divine messages. Newton's unpublished writings, now carefully guarded, reveal a mind not at war with mysticism, but deeply entangled in its embrace. So why does the world remember Newton the scientist, but forget Newton the alchemist? Because history is written not by those who seek truth, but by those who control its narrative. What was once sacred was rebranded as superstition. What was once a sacred path was paved over by progress. But the roots still remain, coiled beneath our feet, waiting to rise again. Alchemy, you see, was never defeated. It simply transmuted. To truly grasp how alchemy shaped modern science, we must look beyond the literal and into the symbolic, because alchemy, at its heart, is a language of transformation. Not just the transformation of metals, but of mind, matter, and meaning. Let's begin with the prima materia, the first matter. In alchemical tradition, this wasn't just a physical substance. It was the raw, chaotic, undivided potential of the universe, the unformed clay from which all things could be shaped. Alchemists believed that before anything could be created or refined, it must first return to this primal state. Destruction was not the end, but the necessary beginning of true creation. This idea is echoed in modern chemistry through the study of elements and compounds. When scientists break down substances to their core components, they're performing, in essence, a ritual of dissolution, an echo of the alchemical solviti coagula, dissolve, then recombine. Strip it down. Rebuild it better. But the ancient alchemist wasn't just mixing potions, he was decoding the divine. Each stage of the alchemical process mirrored a stage of spiritual evolution. Nigredo, blackening, symbolized death, disintegration, and confronting the shadow self. Albedo, whitening, represented purification, reflection, and spiritual clarity. Citrinitas, yellowing, marked the awakening of the inner light, illumination. Rubedo, reddening, was the final union of opposites, the divine marriage, the birth of the philosopher's stone. Today, these sound poetic, perhaps even quaint. But consider, isn't the scientific process itself a kind of transformation through stages? Hypothesis. Experiment. Observation. Conclusion. We break down ideas, subject them to fire, and reassemble them into something refined. The scientist, like the alchemist, is in pursuit of hidden truth. Let's take a closer look at the philosopher's stone, perhaps the most misunderstood symbol in all of esotericism. To the casual eye, it was a magical object said to grant immortality and turn lead into gold. But to those who understood its deeper meaning, the stone was not an object at all. It was you, transformed. The true gold was not metal, but the purified soul. The immortality was the awakening of divine consciousness within the human frame. The alchemist's laboratory was a temple, and every flask, furnace, and formula was a prayer, a parable, a path to becoming whole. Now imagine this mindset entering the realm of early science. The alchemist, while experimenting with distillations and reactions, believed that matter was alive, infused with divine intelligence. This belief inspired deep reverence for nature, and it demanded patience, intuition, and inner stillness. This is no different from the mindset of history's greatest scientists. Think of Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, who studied color not just as a physical phenomenon, but as a spiritual experience. Or Giordano Bruno, who envisioned an infinite universe filled with countless suns, centuries before the telescope confirmed it. These were mystics in the guise of scholars, visionaries whose curiosity transcended the limits of the known world. The more we examine the roots of modern science, the more we find alchemy whispering in its foundation. The classification of elements, the development of laboratory techniques, the formulation of early medicines, these were all first explored in alchemical texts. The language has changed. The symbols have shifted. But the impulse remains the same, to know. To transform. To reach beyond the veil of what is, into what could be. And yet, as this sacred knowledge transitioned into the age of reason, something changed. The spiritual core of alchemy, the soul of the science, was quietly removed. What remained was the shell, precise, measurable, and methodical, but disconnected from the divine. Still, fragments of that ancient fire continue to flicker. In the laboratories of today, when a chemist isolates a new compound, or a physicist probes the quantum realm, they are reenacting the same ritual, seeking the hidden order within chaos. Seeking the gold within the lead. They are, knowingly or not, walking the alchemist's path. Now, Let us delve deeper into the labyrinth of alchemy's hidden architecture, into the paradoxes and refrains that shaped our modern quest for knowledge. One of the greatest mysteries of alchemy is the notion of coincidentia oppositorum, the union of opposites. The alchemists sought to reconcile fire with water, sulfur with mercury, masculine with feminine. This was no mere intellectual exercise but a living practice. In the crucible, as flames danced upon the alembic, confrontation and communion happened all at once. Only by embracing contradiction, by dissolving rigid dualities, could the alchemist glimpse the underlying unity of creation. Contrast this with the Cartesian split of mind and body that underpins much of modern science. René Descartes famously declared, "I think, therefore I am," separating the observer from the observed. Yet in the quiet pages of his personal journal, he wrestled with alchemical symbols and talismans, remnants of a worldview he never fully abandoned. The Cartesian divide may dominate textbooks, but the alchemical impulse endures in fields such as quantum physics, where particles flit between wave and corpuscle, and observation itself shapes reality. Consider the work of Antoine Lavoisier, regarded as the father of modern chemistry. He introduced the law of conservation of mass. Transformations occur, but nothing disappears. This principle is the scientific echo of the alchemical credo: nothing is lost, everything is transmuted. Lavoisier even employed the balance, a sacred tool for alchemists, as his primary instrument. He weighed substances before and after reaction, seeking equilibrium, balance, perfection, just as the Hermeticists had done centuries earlier. Yet alchemy was never a monolith. It splintered into schools and sects, each guarding its own secret. The Rosicrucians emerged in the 17th century, veiling their doctrines in manifestos that claimed cosmic renewal through inner transformation. Their influence seeped into the founding of scientific societies such as the Royal Society in London. Legend holds that founders like Robert Boyle, himself a devoted student of alchemical texts, wove hermetic insights into the very charter of the society, embedding mystery within the machinery of empirical inquiry. But for every bridge, there was a chasm. As the Enlightenment dawned, alchemy's spiritual heart was scorned as irrational. Academics sought to purge metaphysics from science, leaving only the measurable and the material. The laboratory became a fortress of objectivity, its walls built to keep out the mystical. By the 19th century, alchemy had been relegated to curiosity cabinets and the footnotes of history books. And yet, beneath those walls, veins of ancient wisdom still pulse. Take the discovery of Philosopher's peptides in biochemistry, the tiny chains of amino acids that regulate life's processes. Their name deliberately evokes the Philosopher's Stone. Scientists recognize that by manipulating these sequences, they can transmute disease into health, chaos into order. Is this not the alchemical dream reborn? Or look to modern materials science. Researchers today engineer metamaterials, substances with properties not found in nature, bending light, sound, or magnetism in impossible ways. They are, in essence, recreating the alchemists' legendary tinctures, substances that reframe our experience of reality itself. Even the language of patents echoes alchemical secrecy. Inventors disguise their core breakthroughs in dense, cryptic prose, folding their innovations into metaphor and legal jargon, much like alchemists who hid their recipes behind elaborate diagrams. The modern innovator, like the medieval adept, must protect precious secrets until the time is ripe. And yet the greatest paradox of all remains. Though alchemy's spiritual core was cast aside, its essence, its drive to transmute the world and ourselves, remains the engine of progress. Every spark in a Bunsen burner, every algorithm probing artificial intelligence, is an echo of that ancient flame. So the next time you marvel at a technological breakthrough or peer into a microscope at the dance of cells, remember, you stand upon the shoulders of adepts, scribes, mystics, and seekers who long ago dared to whisper that the universe is alive, and that we, too, carry its fire within. Alchemy was never merely a footnote in history. It was, and still is, the hidden current beneath the river of science, shaping its course, infusing it with wonder, and reminding us that the greatest discoveries often arise from the union of heart, mind, and spirit. Now that we have unveiled the secret currents flowing from alchemy into modern science, it's time to step into the laboratory of your own soul. These practices will help you embody the alchemical path, transforming not just matter, but mindset and consciousness. Meditative Solviti Coagula. Nigredo Journal. Each evening, write down one thought, habit, or fear you wish to dissolve. Don't censor, let it be raw. This is your blackening phase, confronting the shadows within. Albedo Reflection. The next morning, revisit your entry. Under gentle light, ask, what lesson lies hidden here? Write a single insight. This widening stage purifies the insight, revealing a glimmer of wisdom. Integration Ritual. Fold your journal page into a small square. Feel its weight in your hand. Speak aloud the intention, I transmute this lesson into strength. Keep this talisman on your altar or desk, returning to it throughout the day. Elemental Laboratory Practice. Water distillation. Boil tap water in a clear glass vessel. Observe the steam rising, condensing on the lid. Collect the droplets, spirit, distilled from body. As you watch, meditate on the idea that every substance harbors hidden essence. Herbal tincture. Choose a simple herb, basil, mint, or rosemary. Chop and place it in a small jar, cover with vodka or apple cider vinegar. Label it, Foil of Transformation. Over 2 weeks, shake daily. Notice how time and movement reveal the plant's virtues, a tangible lesson in patient alchemical process. Symbolic visualization. Prima materia journey. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and imagine a dark void, the unformed potential. As you breathe, see sparks of light coalesce at your navel, pulsing with possibility. Visualize these sparks growing, forming a glowing orb of pure energy. This is your inner prima materia, the seed of creation. Rabido union. With each inhale, blend the orb's light into your heart. With each exhale, project that light outward, merging with the world around you. Feel the union of self and cosmos, the final reddening where opposites dissolve into wholeness. Modern alchemical experiment. Creative transmutation. Identify an area of your life that feels, lead, stagnant career, a difficult relationship, or a limiting belief. Choose a small, symbolic action, repainting a room, writing a letter, or learning a new skill. Treat this act as your personal, great work. Document the process, failures, successes, micro-transformations, as you would record a scientific experiment. Community crucible. Seek out like-minded seekers, online forums, local study circles, or a trusted friend. Share your experiments and insights. Just as early alchemists exchanged recipes under cloaked secrecy, you preserve the spirit of the art by nourishing collective growth and safeguarding the mystery. Navigating obstacles, impatience, alchemy demands time. If frustration arises, return to your Negrito journal. What impatience reveals about your inner blocks? Skepticism, meet doubt as an ally. Record your questions, then design a small test. An experiment's heart is inquiry, not belief. Isolation, the path can feel solitary. Balance introspection with shared dialogue. Mystery unfolds in community as much as in solitude. Through these exercises, you awaken the ancient craft within you, building a bridge between spirit and science. You become both alchemist and scientist, dissolving barriers, recombining truths, and discovering that the ultimate experiment is the transformation of the self. So now, having journeyed through the shadows of ancient laboratories and the luminous corridors of modern science, we return with the golden thread of understanding in hand. Alchemy was never simply about transmuting metals. It was a sacred science, a spiritual art, and a philosophical rebellion. It challenged the boundaries between the seen and unseen, the material and the mystical. And though cloaked in symbols and secrecy, its echoes are still felt in every equation, every experiment, and every act of discovery that dares to ask, what lies beneath the surface? Alchemy shaped modern science not just by providing methods and tools, but by igniting a flame, the flame of curiosity, of transformation, of wonder. The early chemists and physicists were heirs to this ancient lineage, whether they acknowledged it or not. Their test tubes and balances were descendants of the alembic and crucible. Their theories, the offspring of meditations on the divine structure of the cosmos. But more than anything, alchemy offers us a personal mirror. It reminds us that transformation is not reserved for laboratories or temples. It begins in the quiet alchemy of the self. Every fear transmuted into courage, every moment of doubt refined into insight, is an act of inner science. You are the material, the experiment, and the philosopher. The secret fire of the ancients still burns within you. So as you step away from this video, ask yourself, what lead am I ready to turn into gold? What unseen part of me awaits awakening? The path of the alchemist was never truly about reaching a final state. It was about becoming, over and over, the vessel through which the universe remembers itself. If this journey sparked something within you, an ember of curiosity, a question that won't let go, I invite you to stay with it. Explore further. Reflect deeply. And if you found resonance in these forgotten truths, share them, so that others may remember what we were never meant to forget. Because in the end, the greatest secret of all is this: the world is far more magical than we've been taught to believe, and you are far more powerful than you've ever imagined.